Welcome, Luc.
Thanks, mate.
That wasn't so bad as a first start, was it?
No, you did pretty well.
I think we got your name sort of right.
You did.
Yeah.
You did. Well played.
Hometown advantage. Hands up if you haven't met Luc before. A couple of people, first time. So, easiest way to do these things, introduce yourself for us.
Absolutely. Luc Bondar, Australian, 19 years living in the US.
What if you could connect and engage with millions of travelers
What if you
throughout their
could? It
travel?
would be amazing. 19 years in the US. Next year will be 30 years working in some shape or form in the loyalty space. If I go back, 1995, with one of the larger Australian sporting goods retailers, I got challenged to design a relationship marketing program, precursor to loyalty as sort of common lingo. And that started a career in loyalty. I've spent the last 7 years at United Airlines, and I joined there to transform MileagePlus. That's me.
What can I say about the Australian loyalty mafia? You know, it's. I guess we like this. We like this field.
Yeah.
A few years at MileagePlus, as you just said.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing how time goes quick. Could we talk a little bit about the evolution of MileagePlus?
Yeah.
From one of the world's oldest frequent flyer programs.
Yeah, absolutely. So we celebrated 40 years a few years ago. United celebrates its 100-year anniversary in 2 years' time. So when I joined the team, United was in a bit of a tough spot. They'd been through a rocky ride. I saw an old colleague of mine here earlier, and we were talking about that. And I was asked to come in and essentially take the leadership position in a business and a program that was somewhat stagnant, that was in decline in some key areas that were mission critical for value creation. And one of the areas that, in coming in and spending a bit of time just really understanding kind of how the program was designed, where the business was focused, and the way that sort of members were being engaged and invited to come in and grow as part of the program, it became very clear there were sort of a couple of things happening. Number one, there was a lot of complexity in the program. It was difficult to understand. It wasn't terribly appealing nor valuable to less frequent flyers. It was really only built for those frequent flying, predominantly business travelers, with a lot of emphasis on the premier member base. So we made a really distinct strategic decision then, early 2018, to reframe the business, to recognize that if we could do a better job building broader appeal to every customer that flies United, significantly grow the size of the general member population, that would unlock new sources of value for us. And some of the obvious ones that we wanted to go after straight away were to grow the credit card business, which is an area that we've had great success in over that time. But we also wanted to do things like make the program more valuable for just the general flyer who would only fly us once every couple of years. A customer who previously would say, that program's not for me, the miles are going to expire, I'm not going to get enough value from it. So we made changes like eliminating essentially all of the program fees that we had in place. We took the miles, which had an 18-month expiry policy, and we made them evergreen. And we launched that with a promise to customers to say, your miles now last forever. Just earlier this year, we announced a program called Family Pooling, or Miles Pooling, but predominantly targeting families and close friends, that gives the ability for families at no cost to pool their miles into common accounts so that parents and kids can pool their miles, friends can pool their miles, to have those miles stretch further whenever they're planning to travel. And that's really important. For anyone that's been paying attention in the US, there was actually a letter that was issued by Pete Buttigieg just last week, 2 weeks ago now, asking the question, like, what are you doing as a program? What are you doing as the biggest 4 airlines in the country, because it went to ourselves and 3 of our competitors. What are you doing to make sure that these programs are delivering great value to customers, and it's transparent, and it's clear, and it's understood, and you're living up to the promise that you're making? And we have an amazing story to tell, because literally over this 7-year period, we've taken away all of these fees. We've made miles last forever. We have moved to dynamic pricing, but there are more miles today and more rewards at lower price points than there used to be at the top of the published tables. Now, the awards are more expensive at the top end for a long-haul international flight at a peak time, but that just means we're now running a program that's durable, that's economically sustainable, and that we can use that as a platform to drive value to members, to the airline, and to all the program partners that we have. So I'm really proud of the results we've seen. Since I joined, we've effectively more than doubled the rate of new member growth kind of each year, such that we're now more than 4x what we were just 5 years ago in terms of new members coming in and joining the program. The EBITDA of the program, one of the key commercial measures we assess it by, has more than doubled in that time. And the value that it provides for United Airlines every single day is mission critical for the operation of the company. And that sort of has unlocked a whole lot of other opportunities and areas for us, and I'm sure we'll get into that in a minute.
So I think we've got some slides to talk to sort of illustrate what we've talked about a little bit, because my next question is I wanted to sort of ask about some of the more recent developments this year with MileagePlus. But are we, Jamie, are we good to go on the, let's see if it works.
All right, so what you see on screen here is really how we're thinking about the business. In June of this year, we launched a new business that sits alongside MileagePlus that's part of the same company that is the MileagePlus entity. So when I joined, I was running the MileagePlus program. I took on responsibilities for some other areas at United, brand, marketing, onboard product, clubs and lounges, some of those. But throughout this process, we saw the intrinsic value that sat inside MileagePlus that the airline wasn't really tapping into. And at the core of that value were the customers and the data, the contact information and the marketing consents that those customers provide us. So after a review and thought around sort of what was the right way to sort of sequence growth of the program and launch of new commercial businesses with MileagePlus, we made a distinct decision to launch Connected Media. And Connected Media is a traveler commerce platform, a platform that allows brands to market directly to MileagePlus members, but also more broadly to the travelers who fly United Airlines all the time. And to use the ability to reach individual customers as audiences of one, pre-flight, while they're getting inspired for where they're going to travel, on board, while they're sitting looking at screens or interacting with their mobile devices through the connectivity we provide, and after the flight, and then even beyond the travel experience they have with us, for those brands to reach them when they're out in the world on other websites, on other publisher sites. And so building the technology stack, to David's opening remarks around technology, building the technology stack to enable a real-time, programmatic, biddable ad tech platform is really hard to do. And it was expensive, but it was hard. It was complex. Because I'd say the ad tech space, the speed at which the ad tech space moves, which is essentially at the speed of programmatic advertising and bidding, it moves in milliseconds. And airlines historically don't move in milliseconds. We pride ourselves on being very fast and operating like a startup in many ways, which I think is pretty amazing for an almost 100-year-old business. But at the same time, we didn't have some of the intrinsic in-house knowledge to do this. So to build this business, we went out and we hired some of the best in the industry from different areas across ad operations, ad technology, how to understand and build out the right media relationships and partnerships, and critically, as a company, how to restructure how we think about identity in the business so that whenever anyone comes into the United ecosystem, we are able to resolve down to a party of one, an understanding of who that customer is, and we're able to then transform the experience we deliver to them in that moment. So when we think about this flywheel that you see up here, the airline provides initial scale. Loyalty historically has been the way that we've then built relationships with that customer. But the media business is now an unlock that allows brands, both the existing partners that we have, and then other brands who have interest in reaching our premium customers coming from premium markets with high discretionary income, to then put advertising and offers and content directly in front of those customers in ways that are really powerful and really meaningful. And throughout that flywheel, we're capturing data at every step. And we're doing so in a privacy compliant way, and we're making sure that that data is kept safe, that it doesn't leave our four walls. We don't sell customer information to anyone, but we use anonymization techniques to effectively allow advertisers, brands, to reach those customers, to place ads in front of them, to place content in front of them in ways that ultimately drive commerce with that customer, which we think is really exciting. I've got a short video that actually does a much better job than everything I just described. So why don't we roll that video and we'll just bring Connected Media to life.
Sure.
What if you could connect and engage with millions of travelers throughout their travel journey? Introducing a world-first traveler media network, Connective Media by United Airlines. Connective Media combines our rich travel and loyalty data with our unique media channels, to make connections that matter the most for brands, reaching travelers throughout their journeys. From check-in to the United Club lounges, at the gate, on our new in-flight entertainment screens, our award-winning mobile app, and we continue to reach travelers even when their trip is over. And we're committed to protecting our customers' data and privacy every step of the way to earn and maintain their trust. And we are just getting started. Welcome to Connective Media by United Airlines. We help brands and travelers make connections.
I got audio. There we go. It's a very in a world somewhere kind of voiceover for that one. But so we're really proud of what we've launched here. And when I think about, and Dave and I were chatting beforehand, when I think about the value that this creates for our customers, I don't want to jump ahead of one of your questions.
No, that's please.
When I think about the value that it creates for our customers, it's really about enriching the travel experience, enriching that user journey when they are traveling with us. And we think about sort of users and customers and this journey in really two ways. There's the trip itself, pre-trip inspiration, kind of those stages of the customer journey that you just saw in that video. But then there's the MileagePlus view of the world, which is these lifelong relationships that we build with customers, and we build with their families, and we build with their colleagues, and understanding their cohort as they move through life. And what's really powerful about this platform is we're able to take that understanding about who that person is and what's important to them and all the ways they've interacted with us historically, and we're able to then make connections with brands that want to serve content to them. So a really good example is a client we launched with. They featured in that video a couple of times. Televisa Univision. They're a Spanish language television service. They have a streaming platform called VIX. They have about 20 million paid subscribers in the US, 50 million across North America and Central America. And they launched on our platform, and they wanted to test the efficacy of this platform as a way to engage with potentially new customers in a way that they thought would be really powerful. We fly a lot south of the US, and so we have a lot of Spanish-speaking markets that we serve. So we tested essentially putting pre-flight advertising in front of customers of customers that we knew were either self-declared Spanish language, that had opted for Spanish through our contact centers, that were flying to Spanish language speaking markets. And for 1 in 3 of those customers, we essentially served them content related to this Spanish language service, VIX. Then once they were on the plane, we said, hey, guess what? We have this amazing new streaming service embedded into our in-flight entertainment system. So if you want to check it out, you can. Here's a link, take you straight into that service on board. Those customers that were then consuming it on board then said, by the way, here's a QR code that you can click through on your phone, and using the onboard connectivity, go to a white label site, so you don't even need to be sort of paying for Wi-Fi, and you can explore the subscription programs for this site. And by the way, there's a special offer for MileagePlus members, and by the way, there's a special offer for you as a United customer. And so we saw double-digit conversion rates, which in a world of digital marketing is insane. Normally like a 0.001 conversion rate is great. We saw like greater than 10% conversion rate of customers who are viewing, clicking through to explore the subscriptions, and then subsequently a double-digit rate on that of customers going on to subscribe. So, a very happy launch customer, but a precursor for where this goes. Think about the understanding of travelers and where they're flying, the markets they're flying to. I'm coming into Chicago for a business event. I might be coming for the Loyalty Summit, and we know you're a business traveler. Being able to serve content to you with miles earning opportunities attached to it for restaurants, for hotels, for activities like baseball games that are occurring in that market at that time, pre-flight, during the flight on these platforms, and then from our world, taking a cut of those transactions. Not just taking a cut for the miles that we're selling to those partners, but also using this platform and this relationship that we have with customers as a way to create a marketplace and serve offers and content and products and services to customers. We think that's incredibly exciting. We think it's an untapped market, and that's sort of borne out by the level of interest that we have in a lot of brands that are sort of clamoring to be part of the connected media universe today. I think where this goes in terms of the experience and elevation that it will deliver to customers is sort of untapped and doesn't have a limit in terms of how far we can go with it. But there are some constraining factors. For example, the ability to deliver a great experience on board is also limited historically by Wi-Fi or by what we've cached on the plane. And it's a sort of a dirty secret, but like to put new content onto one of our aircraft today is a 60-day lead time. So to put a new movie onto the aircraft, to put an ad onto the pre-roll before the safety video that you might watch, 60 days in advance, someone was going onto that plane with a USB drive and plugging it into the console, loading the content up, testing it to make sure it worked, and then enabling that. You can imagine, with that being the infrastructure that we dealt with, like what you just saw on screen isn't that exciting, but that's where maybe if we roll this next video, if you don't mind, hit click. We announced a new partner on Friday that is a great unlock for our ability to essentially bring the living room and the land experience to the sky in a 5G world. So
All right, let's take a look.
All systems are go. Transmission starting in 3, 2, 1.
Have a nice day.
Did we mention it's free?
So free Wi-Fi, powered by Starlink. Elon Musk tweeted about this on Friday. I had a look at someone sent me a note. They're like, Elon just tweeted, and I looked. It's got like 198 million followers. I was like, that sort of pays for itself. But we're really excited about truly what this enables in terms of personalization and a curated customer experience on board that feels like the very best of what you get in a land-based experience. And to date, that just hasn't been able to be brought to life in the sky. So when we think about what that means for loyalty and partnerships and the ability to serve content related to the destinations that I'm flying into, to bring offers and experience to life in ways that really haven't been tapped into before, we think this is incredibly exciting. If I think about historically where loyalty's been, certainly in the airline space, it's about the relationship with the airline, it's about the relationship with the credit card partner. Then we have a lot of other smaller partners who are really important to broaden the appeal of the program, but economically, they've represented a very small portion of the overall P&L of the business. I think as we look forward, the partnership landscape changes dramatically, and it becomes sort of an e-commerce landscape that looks like the internet. And then it's our job to make sure that we're curating and delivering an amazing experience for the customer that feels very akin or germane to the travel experience as well, and the brand and the values that we represent and we stand for. So this is sort of some of the headline areas in terms of where we're going. So building out an ad tech spine that runs at scale, that runs globally, that's programmatic and biddable, powering it through the very best of in-flight connectivity, low Earth orbit, covering the world, 5G speeds, no matter where you are, no matter what ocean you're flying over, and free, which we think is just a game changer for the industry. 1,000+ aircraft rolled out over the next 2 years to bring this to life, unlike some other airlines that promise free and take a long time to roll that out. Looking at you, Minneapolis, for those that are in the room from Minneapolis. They're not actually Minneapolis based, I'm sure you know that. But I think there are some very real benefits to the loyalty experience, the loyalty strategy, the loyalty opportunity that come with enabling this. And I haven't said AI yet, but I just will. As you can imagine, our ability to create scale with personalized ads, personalized content, making sure that the right ad variable, pricing, language, choice of words, but also language used, is all machine driven. It used to be that all these things were driven by people. Legal was an approval process. It took time. And there just isn't, the world moves at a very different speed today. And we need the ability to move at that same speed, and it has to be machine driven in order to do that, because we're essentially creating a platform that could be serving at any given point in time millions of different messages to different customers, personalized right down to the individual level. And so to be able to do that, it all has to be machine driven, which is where I think United has made a bet that technology will be a differentiator that will really separate us from a lot of the competitors in the marketplace. And we think it'll give customers a reason to choose United. So.
Well, I mean, on top of that, you can choose United, because if you do want to fly to Minneapolis, United can go direct rather than have to connect in Atlanta. But, our friends in Dallas-Fort Worth are still connected to dial-up to download the video, so let's not worry about them. I do have 2 questions.
Sure.
Jokes aside, and I can pick on the competitors. Luc might not be able to. when hands up who knew about Connective before today, or who had sort of heard maybe about Connective. Okay, yeah, so you certainly got some coverage early in the year when it was launched.
Yep.
I think there was a couple of questions, or certainly one big question that came up at the time, I think, from folks, where it was like, this is all great. It's pretty easy to understand the commercial side of the equation here. Okay, great, no problem. But from a flying passenger point of view, I think there was a little bit of an initial reaction from folks where it was like, great, you're making me a captive audience. You're selling my position as a captive customer. I can't move. I'm stuck on the plane. That's how you generate revenue. It's like, I know this happens every day in my life, but most of it's sort of a little less overt. Did you sort of feel any of that feedback from your member base or your customer base sort of when that happened, or did that commentary you feel disappear very quickly?
We didn't get it from customers, and we honestly had minimal outreach from regulators, which is actually where I was expecting to get a lot more from. And I think that's because we put a lot of time and energy into making sure that we were crystal clear with our messaging, that we weren't going to sell customer data. Like, that was sort of step one. It's like, this isn't an exercise in selling personal information. This is about using what we already know about our customers to enrich the experience that they have today. So today we have advertising on our planes and in our app and on our site, but it's not targeted. And so if you're really lucky, you might see the same Marriott ad 50 times on a flight, which is not what you want as a customer. What you want is that the content you see doesn't feel like advertising, because it's content that's meaningful for me. I'll give you an example. We've got huge interest from automotive, and particularly from higher end automotive, because United is the premium airline for premium travelers in the United States. If you look at our hub markets, you look at the fact we've got more premium seating than Delta and American combined, like, we fly a lot more premium travelers, and as a result, these higher end auto manufacturers are really interested in the ability on board to give customers a way to use their time more productively, to learn about the products that they're making, the new EV, maybe it's a new EV vehicle that they're producing, to then experience that vehicle on board with content that we've embedded in the experience, to then go through and book a test drive and earn miles for doing that. And then ultimately to create a model that rewards us commercially for helping provide a very warm prospect over to that partner. In that setting, for a customer who's shown interest already in a new vehicle, that's not advertising, that's a value add. Now, for someone that's just bought a vehicle, we don't want to show them that content because we're going to lose them pretty quickly. So it's our responsibility to make sure that the content that we're showing, the advertising that we're showing, the brands and the partners that we're exposing to customers are valuable to them. But part of the promise that we've made to customers is it's not going to be more advertising. It's just going to be better and targeted advertising and content. And I keep saying content because it's not just ads. It's about creating that Televisa Univision-like experience where it's like, let's bring the best Spanish language streaming service in the US to our customers, embed it in our in-flight experience, and make it available for free for customers to trial. And if they like it, then they can go on to buy it, and we get a cut. And so does Televisa, and we've got a very happy customer because they've discovered a new product and they've got value for it at the same time. So that's where I think, David, to your question, like, it's our responsibility to make sure we don't end up looking like Times Square. We never will. And it's our responsibility to make sure that we're delivering great value to customers every time they interact with us.
Awesome. We are at time. Thank you so much, Luc. I'm hoping that was informative for folks. And, I think you're right. I mean, we've certainly covered that topic before. When it comes to messaging, relevance is the key word that, I certainly like to use. And that is there's always a question, how often should I communicate to my members, my customers? If it's relevant, there's almost no limit. But if it's the minute you're irrelevant, your time is already up because you're already irking the customer. So I think that's a good point to make is, there's going to be advertising and whatever else and sponsored content, whichever way you look at it. If it's relevant, customers are going to, at the very, there's going to be, maybe they're going to enjoy it, but at worst, maybe they'll be more neutral and certainly not aversive to it. So
yeah, the only other thing I'd add to that is, like, relevance is fine, but I also find it's mission critical. You have to have that sort of table stakes. I think you also have to do the right thing for each customer segment. And doing the right thing is making sure, and this is more through the broader lens of loyalty, not just kind of the connected media business. Things like the miles pooling program that we launched and making that free as a service. Like, it was crazy that it used to cost money to pool miles. Now, that was to try to stop fraud, but that's a crappy way to deal with stopping fraud. It's bad for the customer. And it's kind of lazy on our part. It was like, we'll make it really expensive to pool miles so that if you want to pool miles as a family, it's just going to cost you a lot of money, and therefore not a lot of people are going to do it. Instead, we said, let's make it free, but let's design it so that it dissuades fraudsters from participating, because there's a little bit of a burden and there's time involved to make it happen. But if you're a family, it's amazing. You don't care that it's going to take a few days to get access to those miles, and it's going to, there's a process, and once you're in a pool, you can't leave that pool and then join another pool easily, because if you're in a family, that doesn't matter. What matters in a family is that you can unlock the value of the miles my kids have earned, the miles that my partners earn, bring it into one place, and that way I can use it to get cheaper family travel. So these are all things that we think and we sort of hold up as a really high bar. We need to do the right thing by each customer segment. We need to do the right thing commercially as a business. And we do need to do the right thing for the long-term health of the program, which is about making sure it's valuable, it's well understood, it's simple, and ultimately it's growing. So,
Thank you, Luc, for your time. I appreciate that. Everybody, thank Luc Bondar.
thank you.